Hello, this is Maiku with Starseed Tarot, and today I will be doing a crystal video. I'm thinking about making this into a series because there's just so many crystals that are really good for working with, either on a spiritual, physical, or emotional level. And even for those who just love crystals, there's just so much out there that it's nearly impossible to just fit it all in one video. And so I wanted to do a series. In addition to that, it's not so much of a series that is going to look at kind of like the um, what is the group of crystals that you should start out with, general type of information. All of that is accessible via a Google search. You can find all of these resources and information about crystals online. The series is mostly just focusing on the crystals that I work with and how they come to me, and also how I pick crystals. So it's more so my perspective on working with crystals for healing, and not so much like a go-to guide, if that makes sense. So interesting story with the crystals that I'll be talking about today. They are all grounding crystals, and I actually attempted to film this video a few times, but for some reason my editing app is just not working with the video, and so I wanted to do a shorter video, and also a more concentrated video that's looking specifically into a certain area that I'm currently working with on myself, as well as the type of crystals that are helpful for that particular situation, circumstances, or area in my life currently. And so again, as I was doing this video, I tried to film it multiple times, just wasn't working out. But then in hindsight, I realized all the crystals that were I was resonating with and were just coming through so quickly, they all happened to be grounding crystals. And so I thought I should just refilm this and focus on the crystals that are of interest to me at this point, resonating with me at this very moment, to provide you all with insight on, how I use it. And so I'm one to believe that there's multiple ways to use tools, divination tools, healing tools. There's a multitude of ways to work with them. There's no specific right way, especially if it is used for healing. Okay, and so we can consider this the first of my crystal series, and today we'll be talking about grounding crystals. And so, as you can see, this little baggie right here is what I'm carrying right now, and actually I used to carry a lot of the clear quartz or crystals that work with the third eye, crown chakra, and throat. But while a lot of people feel like these are the chakras that are lacking or need the most work on, it is very surprising that, even for myself, that the areas or the chakras that need the most healing are actually the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus. So all our base chakras, as well as the heart. And so and the reason why is because if you think about how our chakras are aligned from the base up to the crown, we are constantly, why we need to focus more on grounding is because we're constantly thinking, we're constantly trying to figure out how to look into the future, and we're ruminating the past, and we're never present. And so when we're not present, we're not grounded. And so usually when you hear people tell you to stay grounded, stay present, it's because your chakra, your base chakras, are not rooted into the energy of the divine Mother Earth. And so hence, when you hear people say get connected with nature, get grounded, get rooted. That's usually what it implies. And so we're constantly thinking, or we're thinking that our third eye or our crown chakra or our throat chakras are being blocked. In some effect, it is, but because we're more aware of those chakras, we tend to neglect the healing in the solar sacral and the root chakra. And this didn't occur to me until I was already like 2 years into my actively working into my spiritual journey. Was that I was neglecting my root chakra, and it was starting to manifest into a medical situation that's not dire, it's not life-threatening, but a medical situation that is just can't be answered. And so I knew for a long time that I had issues with my sacral chakra, and only until recently did I start actively looking to figuring out how can I work with my lower chakra, my base chakra, so that I can be rooted. Because oftentimes as an empath, I am always in my head. I'm always thinking because I'm feeling things. I'm feeling the energy and the emotions of people that I forget that, I have to stay present. I have to shield up. I have to protect myself from all this negative energy that I absorb so easily. And so because I'm always in my head, I forget where I need to anchor down, where I need to hunker down and ground myself and be present and realize that I can detach myself from the negativity of others. And so what I'm currently working with now are these crystals. And so I actually just started working with them a few days ago when I was trying to get my crystal video out. And it literally took me to sit down, look at each individual crystal, look at the spiritual meanings of each crystal, for me to realize, like, oh my gosh, Maiku, you really need to work in this area. That is why you are feeling so anxious all the time these past few days, especially in this time of year where it's a lot of energy that is coming up. There's a lot of energy that's coming up, energy that may be positive energy, high vibrating energy, lower vibrating energy, everything. We think about this like salad bowl of energy that's just constantly circulating. And if you are sensitive or you're empathic, you are gonna walk into one of these energy fields and you're gonna absorb it, and it will shift your mood, it will shift how you process things. And so now is the time to just stay present and stay grounded, and that is definitely what I am working on. And so some ways that I'm finding how to stay grounded is the use of crystals and meditation. Meditation is a very good way to stay grounded. We're constantly thinking that meditations are actually for our higher chakras, but meditation helps us to balance those chakras, utilize all of those chakras, use all of them all together in synchronicity so that we are balanced and we are grounded, as well as staying in our power and vibrating where we need to, at a level that we need to navigate our current circumstances and situations. And so without further ado, I will go into the crystals. And so starting from the left, I guess I kind of put them around in like a circle, but we'll start from the left. And this one on the left is a Smoky Quartz. And so for me, how I've been working with Smoky Quartz is to stay grounded. It's also a very good protection crystal. I do want to share that some Smoky Quartz are heat treated and some are natural. And there's nothing wrong with this being heat treated. This one is also, this one is actually heat treated, and you can tell by how opaque the black is. It almost looks like this black tourmaline, right? This smoky quartz looks like this black tourmaline, and so that's how you know if a smoky quartz is heat treated. Now, that doesn't go without saying that smoky quartz, natural smoky quartz, can't look like this. Natural smoky quartz can definitely look as dark as this, but typically what you will find in the market or in your local stores for natural smoky quartz is that it will have a kind of like it'll look clear, but it'll have a little bit of that tinge of smokiness in it, if that makes any sense. And so for me, how I use smoky quartz is obviously to ground and protect, and there is no right or wrong way to use smoky quartz. You can also use it in meditation. Something that is also general information that you can find on the internet about using crystals is that the left hand is for receiving energy and the right hand is for sending out energy. And so if you're thinking about setting intentions into a crystal so that you can work it with, you can put one in one hand and another in this hand, and you can set the intentions. So say for example you bought a new crystal and your intentions of working with it is to protect. You can take that crystal that you want to set intentions to and the one that you already have that you've already been working with, and you can meditate and set your intentions and direct that into this crystal. So you can think of yourself as a battery charger for your crystals. You are the conduit for your crystals. You can utilize your inner knowledge as well as the energy being sent down through your chakras to set an intention for the new crystal that you're purchasing. This is also a way for you to set intentions onto objects that you create for protection or you create for cleansing, whatever that could be. You can use that. You can use this method for that as well. And so, yes, smoky quartz for grounding and protection. To be honest, most of the crystals that I have here are for protection. I've been working a lot with these to kind of just like do some psychic protection, so that it can ward off any negative energy or entities. In addition to all of this energy that's been circulating, I've been working with these crystals just kind of like stay grounded and return safely on, return safely from your dream travels. And so that's kind of what I've been doing here. So yeah, the first one is a smoky quartz. The second one is a tiger's eye, believe it or not, and this one is called a red tiger's eye. We usually see tiger's eye as a honey kind of mahogany color, but tiger's eye comes in red as well. Tiger's eye also comes in a blue color, and when it's blue, it's called a hawk eye, and it's actually a really pretty blue. And so again, with tiger's eye, it's good for protection and also grounding. The other thing that it is good for is for psychic attacks and also getting outside of the thought of duality. So it'll help you think about things from multiple perspectives and get out of the thinking of right and wrong. It helps you to focus on the gray areas and using the knowledge that you obtain from just seeing things in these gray areas to see the bigger picture of a situation for a person or your circumstances. For example, you're going to a store and the cashier accidentally gives you back lesser change. Instead of getting mad at the cashier for not giving you the change back, what can happen is when you broaden your perspective, you're seeing like, oh, maybe she had a bad day and she's distracted, and that's not any of her fault. She's been sitting at this register for 8 hours and it's the holidays. Of course she's going to be worn down. And so it helps you to be more compassionate by looking at the situation from multiple perspectives. this also goes into how you are seeing how people are antagonizing you as well, and that maybe they are also going through something and they are projecting. You don't have to own that energy, but it helps you to handle the situation better when you can look at the perspective from a wider view. And so it's about multiplicity in the way that you view the situation, so that you're not tied down to judgment. You're not tied down to that judgment of how people are antagonizing you or provoking you. It could even just be that even though this is someone who you can never see yourself aligning your values with, that even though this is something where you don't see yourself aligned with that person, to just be able to be a little compassionate and to be a little compassionate and to be more open to seeing why this person is being antagonizing. It helps you to deal with the situation better, so that it doesn't make things worse for you and it doesn't make things worse for this person. Even though you don't see yourself aligning with them, you don't have to own that energy. It just helps you to see the situation from a wider perspective, so that you can deal with it from a more level-headed perspective, and you're not being triggered by how this person is treating you. And so Tiger's Eye is very good for that. And that's exactly what I need right now, to just kind of stay grounded and try to not feel like the world is against me. That's what Tiger's Eye is good for. Apache Tears has also been coming out, speaking to me a lot recently, and Apache Tears is an interesting story with Apache Tears. It is a type of obsidian. It is known as Apache Tears because the story that is tied with Apache Tears is that as the Apache people were descending into war, or descending into a moment of struggle and overcoming it, they shed tears of grief, and these tears had become these stones that could be used for healing. And so these stones, actually, they come up and they look very round like this. It kind of has that sort of glassy, like lava rock appeal to it. It's a hard crystal. It is considered a part of the quartz family. But what this works with is grieving the loss of a situation, not necessarily a person, but being able to let go, right? Going back to that situation where maybe that person is antagonizing you or treating you badly because somebody else treated them badly. It helps you to let go of that energy that they sent you. It helps you to let go of that. It helps you to also release that energy, so that you can deal with the situation better. So you're not ruminating in thought about how these people hurt you. You're able to grieve. The interesting thing about letting go of the negative energy that people has caused onto you is it's very hard to let go, because you don't want to invalidate your experience, but you want to release it. You weren't at fault, but you can't help it. You can't help but just let go of that, rather than retaliating with the same emotion, retaliating with the same energy. It's like in those types of situations, you can't return to sender. You can't return to sender because you know that you being aware that this is coming from somewhere else. If you send it back to sender, how is it going to come back to you, right? And so you start to think about sending this back to sender. Is it because of retaliation, or is this because you want to you're in a way afraid of dealing with this emotion, right? And so a lot of people, even myself, it's very hard for me to deal with the emotion or the feeling of grief. It's very hard for me to deal with that, and the only way I can deal with it is just riding the wave, so that I know how to process it. I know what I can gain from it, and learn the lesson of that interaction, of those circumstances, of the life that, this emotion, the life that this emotion lived and existed in me, and letting it go, right? Letting go of that anger, that instinctual anger that you feel when somebody hurts you. Like, no doubt, like, it's okay if you feel angry, but how do you let go of that anger? How do you let go of that feeling of betrayal and that feeling of being hurt? How do you let go of all of that, so that you don't perpetuate that same energy to somebody else who doesn't deserve it, And so Apache Tears has been helping me deal with that, helping me deal with letting go of certain relationships, letting go of all of the hurt that was caused, in with me perpetuating that hurt, or that hurt hurting me, or coming onto me. How do I let that go? And so Apache Tears helps with that, grieving the loss of something, grieving the loss of an important, relationship, so that you can move on. All right. So this is what Apache Tears can be used for. The next one is Labradorite, and Labradorite is considered a very magical crystal. It's considered a magic stone, because of just how you can use it to manifest, how you can use it to create, how you can use it to conjure up, spells and charms, and problem solve, essentially. Problem solve, get creative with how do you solve a certain situation. The interesting thing with the grounding crystals, and this one in particular, is that they're very unsuspecting. They're very dark crystals. I, for one, when I started buying crystals, I wanted the ones that looked like crystals, like the crystal clusters, and the, prism shapes, and the light colors, like the amethyst and the quartz and the rose quartz, the ones that give off this kind of pastel-y, like happy rainbows and unicorn feeling. But in learning more about crystals, each crystal has its own purpose. So it's not just the color that contributes to the meaning and the healing work that the crystals do. It's everything that it's made up of. And so the thing with grounded crystals, and they're becoming my new favorite, is because they are so unsuspecting, and yet they are so powerful. They are so powerful in meditation and the healing work that they do. And Labradorite is an example of that. From far away, you just think that it's this kind of grayish, glassy, like black crystal, but upon looking at it closer, you'll see that there are these flecks of like luminescence, and these flecks of illuminating or luminescent colors is actually feldspar. And so Labradorite will have these flecks of feldspar that range from blue to green to orange or red, and the only way I can describe it, it's kind of like the fleck or the flickering of a flame, a blue flame or a red flame, whatever. So it's very, very beautiful. It's a very beautiful crystal, and I like using it for the purpose of, again, protection, manifesting, problem solving, critical thinking, and then also speaking things into reality and manifesting it. So having to deal with charms and spells, and speaking, doing what you say, is basically what Labradorite is also good for. In addition to this palm stone too, I have a ring, a Labradorite ring that I wear on my left hand. So if you've seen my tarot videos, you'll sometimes see that I have the Labradorite ring right here and then the moonstone right here. And so I wear them both because they have that same like quality, luminescent quality, and they just pair really well together. The energy that I get from Labradorite, it's very it's like a masculine energy. A lot of the grounding crystals give me that masculine energy, but very grounded and earthy energy. And so that is what I use Labradorite for. It's very grounding as well. It's also good for protection and working with the physical. And yeah, so that is Labradorite. The next one is a Shuungite, and this is a Shuungite palm crystal, but you'll see that a lot of Shuungite is also presented as a pyramid for gridding, and I don't really grid, but gridding could be a way where you can start finding a home for your altar. So your altar could essentially have a grid, and then you place your crystals on it. So I'm not really familiar with the method of gridding. I have one grid, but it's mostly just for wealth and prosperity. And you could do it however you want. It's kind of like if you think about creating a portal or creating like a pillar of light, how your crystals are aligned so that it charges that central crystal to become this like pillar of light, this pillar of energy. And so Shuungite is often used for that because it's a very strong protective crystal. It's very good for balancing and working with healing at a molecular level. And one way to explain that is that even though we think about energy as like the space between physical things, energy also exists in objects, hence our crystals, right? And so we typically see objects and things and raw material as as big objects, but Shuungite works at a molecular level, at an atomic level, and so it goes in deep. It goes in microscopically. I feel like even smaller because we're thinking about molecules, and heals it so that you don't, so that there leaves no room for this negative energy that you're continuously harboring. There leaves no room for these negative energies to hide at this molecular level, right? When we think about it, you can think about how we filter water with just a regular, filter. Now, we'll see that if we are filtering water that has soil in it or sediments in it, if we're filtering it, that clear water is going to come through and the sediment is going to be captured by the filter. But we can still, that doesn't go without saying that water has been completely filtered and cleansed. There still has to be some kind of like cleansing process to change the bacteria, the molecules that exist in that clear water to be able to make it drinkable. And so even in a situation where there is like a filter to cleanse, we still need to change the chemical properties of the water by using heat, for example, to cleanse it. And so if you're thinking about it at that level, Shuungite does that. It doesn't leave for any room, it doesn't leave for any speck of negative energy to exist in the atoms and the molecules of the cells of your body. And so it works at a very small cellular level to kind of cleanse everything in every tiny bit, to cleanse all of that. So it leaves no room for negative energy to hide, or no small sediment of that to exist in your cells, the cells of your body. And so I've been using a lot of Shuungite as well. I've been carrying this one for quite some time. And it's only been until recently that I started working with these crystals as a collective, as I needed it to work with them. And again, even though I'm working with these, I'm also working with other crystals that work at a higher level as well, but that's for another video, okay? The last one is black tourmaline. Black tourmaline is also a very good protective crystal. What it does is it purifies and it cleanses. It purifies, it cleanses, and it also protects. And so these are all protective crystals. And when we think about combining them all together, they're not working against each other. They're all working together to amplify that protection and that purifying and that cleansing. And so black tourmaline is one of those must-haves in your collection, to do cleansing, purifying, and protection. I actually resisted tourmaline for a very, very long time, because at the time I just wasn't aware of even the healing at the level that I am now, that needed to be done. And so black tourmaline was a way for me to stay grounded, like definitely sink your feet into the ground, sink all your roots, all your base chakras into the ground, and stay grounded, and to continue doing the work that you need to do. The thing about black tourmaline too is that it's a very soft material, and so you have to be careful with it because it will crumble and crack. So if you have these all in a little baggie like the one that I have here, you just want to be careful not to have heavy things in the crystal bags, or having things on top so that it doesn't crush these. Yeah, so and another thing too that I forgot to mention about black tourmaline is that it is a very good crystal for anxiety, and so it helps to ease that anxiety from panic attacks and whatnot, and providing you with that security so that you're stable, again going back to grounding, so that you feel stable and you don't feel like the earth is shaking beneath you, which can typically happen with people who have anxiety. Black tourmaline helps to kind of like ease those earthquakes, level the ground, and keep me grounded to help me feel, that everything is going to be okay, even though it's a very small thing. Black tourmaline helps with that. And so this concludes my grounding crystals video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, feel free to leave a comment, or like this video, or subscribe if you haven't. I will try to put out more crystal videos, as well as reading videos. I've kind of been hit with like a blockage. I have other projects that are going on too, and the readings have just been kind of put aside, and so I'm coming back to it. It's just kind of taking me a little bit, especially with wrapping up the year, but please look forward to more reading videos. I thought I would do these crystal videos too, in case there are people who are interested in knowing more about crystals, how to use them from my perspective anyways. Again, all of this information is out there, you just have to look for it, and I'm one to encourage people to seek and look for the resources that they need to help them on their spiritual journey. There is no right or wrong way. There's no specific way of navigating and persevering through your journey. It's all in a matter of how it resonates with you that is most important. And so thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next video.